This is a story that is as old as time. This story is between two forces of energy that can be seen in all things, from balls to arrows to balloons. These energies are called potential and kinetic energy. Their love story goes back to the dawn of time, as it is the relationship amongst all things. Our love story begins here with this little red ball. On top of this hill, the ball has nothing but potential energy. Completely void of kinetic energy, potential energy is actually at its highest point. And then we notice something happened to this ball. You see, the relationship between potential energy and kinetic energy has lasted through eternity, but that does not mean they have a beneficial relationship. Specifically, as one grows larger, the other grows smaller. Thus, if one is at its full value, the other will cease to exist. Thus, potential energy is at its strongest when kinetic energy is not around. But as soon as kinetic energy comes into her life, like when this ball starts to move, then potential energy starts to give away all of her energy. And once potential energy begins to give away her energy, it never stops until there's nothing left. Potential energy gave up so much for kinetic energy just for it all to be taken away. And now, kinetic energy is alone forever because potential energy can't simply be added back. Thus is the tragic love story of kinetic and potential energy. Now, let's talk about why this happens. Here we have a simulation of a skater riding between two ramps, with a graph showing us in real time what is happening with potential and kinetic energy. As you watch this simulation, keep in mind we are ignoring the forces that would naturally bring him to rest. We are solely watching his change in energies. Notice that potential energy is highest when kinetic energy is zero and vice versa. This is by the law of conservation of energy, where energy cannot be added or eliminated. So what is happening? Let's look at the definitions of potential and kinetic energy for a second, then define the law of conservation of energy. The definition of potential energy is as follows. The energy possessed by a body by virtue of its position relative to others that are stored in itself. This means there are multiple different kinds of potential energy, and we will get to those, of course, but for now we focus on the potential energy given by gravity, which is what is present in the case of the ball on the hill. The definition of kinetic energy is the energy that a body possesses by virtue of being in motion. As you saw earlier, there are numerical values and equations with these energies. Potential energy is found by multiplying mass times gravity times height, and kinetic energy is found by half of the mass and velocity squared. These two equations, when added together, must equal zero as stated before, and this is essentially the definition of the law of conservation of energy. This is because energy cannot be created or destroyed, so there can't possibly be anything left acting on the object. Through our knowledge of potential and kinetic energy and the law of conservation of energy, we have made countless breakthroughs in our understanding of momentum, electricity, magnetics, chemistry, and science itself. And the best part is it can all be explained through a simple, tragic love story.